welcome. Bitter Pollock here again with a review of the first 2023-2024 Republican presidential debate. And whoa, was it a doozy. It had some interesting moments. It had some funny moments. It had some really cringy moments too. Took some notes, so let's get into it. First, wasn't a fan of the national anthem. I thought that the lady who sung the national anthem was more interested in promoting herself and the way she was singing it than the actual song, and that's not what the national anthem's about. I'm very critical of people who sing the national anthem, and I just didn't like the way she did it. Um, but anyway, first question was about the Richmond, North of Richmond song. Um, and they sent that first to Governor DeSantis, who completely avoided the question. Um, he started on about the economy and whatnot, which he was very right. He had some very good points, but he completely avoided the question. And then they went to Christie and asked him about DeSantis' response. And this is the only thing that Christie said and has said in a while that I absolutely liked. He was talking about Republicans needing to get better at selling their ideas. Um, we have a lot of good ideas, we have a lot of good policies, but getting people to buy into them and selling those ideas to the people is definitely something the Republicans need to get better at. So, liked that. Hit up Senator Scott about entitlements and entitlement reform. Again, he completely avoided the conversation. When started talking about Bidenomics and the failures of Bidenomics, talking about cutting taxes and letting states keep money, that was pretty decent. Then they shot a question to Vivek Ramaswamy. Why choose him over more experienced politicians? It was actually a pretty good response. He talked about the American dream, his mom emigrating over here and whatnot, and being poor. And, I thought he had a pretty decent response. This really started catching my ear on Vivek, and I ended up liking him a lot through the evening. Question to Governor Haley: why is she in a better position to fix things? Again, this is about the only thing that she said all night that I really agreed with. She talked about Republicans being just as to blame for everything as Democrats are. And she's absolutely right. I mean, I talk about Republicans and Democrats basically being two sides of the same evil coin, right? Um, they never see any one of them talking about eliminating government agencies and cutting government or anything like that. They're all about keeping themselves in power and keeping their jobs and expanding government, regardless of whether they talk about cutting it or not. So good on her for mentioning that Republicans are just as to blame. But that was about the last thing she said tonight that I had any love for. Hit Vice President Pence on inflation, and asked him about spending during the Trump administration, and adding to the debt during the Trump administration, which they did. Oh boy, did they! And we know a lot of that was related to COVID, but even pre-COVID, they added a couple $1 trillion, maybe even a few $1 trillion. And I know a lot of that was spent rebuilding the military, which we desperately needed, but we've now handed it over to incompetence. So, yeah, he was being asked to defend his record, and I don't know. There's something about Pence I don't like. Ramaswamy then started talking about going after regulations to get the economy going again, cutting regulations. And then Mike Pence, God love him, he tried to channel his inner Romney and talk down to Ramaswamy like Romney talked down to Obama, and it just didn't work. He just doesn't have that. He doesn't have that personality to where where it comes off well when he's talking down to people, and that really, um, I didn't look favorably on Mike Pence for that one. Then DeSantis jumped to COVID and lockdowns and how Florida, didn't lock down. And then in came Ramaswamy with the knockout punches. Everybody's talking, and Ramaswamy's like, "Look! Everybody's got their prepared statements, the shots fired that they that were written by other people for them. So now we can actually get down and start talking about things. It was a good one. So then they started talking about climate change, and the question was, raise your hand if you believe that people are contributing to climate change. And DeSantis kind of grabbed hold of it and he's like, stop treating us like we're children, which, the whole raise your hand thing is dumb. There was a pretty decent discussion. Ramaswamy kind of jumped in and was like, look, the man-made climate change thing is ridiculous, which it is. Everybody wants clean air. Everybody wants clean water. But we've got to be smart about it. We've got to protect our energy sources. We've still got to function as a country, as a world, quite frankly. But the whole, yes, the climate is changing, but no, we're not. There's nothing we can do to stop it. It's natural processes. Christie sounded off trying to be a big dog and made himself look like an idiot. Nikki Haley, again, moves her further down the list. She completely embraces the man-made climate change thing, but she did bring up about the Bidens sucking up to China. Then they went to an abortion discussion. And this one was a little uncomfortable for me, at least. So they talked about, now that Roe v. Wade's gone, what can we do at the federal level? And I don't think we should do anything at the federal level. I think the federal government needs to stay the hell out of it. Let states do what they're going to do. If you live in a red state and you're happy with that, fine. If you live in a blue state and happy with that, I'm not really happy with, abortion up until the time of birth. But let states do what they're going to do. Haley had some good points about, finding common ground on certain things. That they could put into law at the federal level. I just don't think we should. And it was the North Dakota governor who actually brought up, the Constitution, and Governor Burgum brought up the Constitution, and where it says, things not specifically given to the federal government are left to the states. And I think that's where that needs to stay. I liked that comment. Then they talked about homelessness and how do you combat homelessness, and a lot of the talk was around, combating crime. The homeless issue went to combating crime. And so Christie talked about having federal prosecutors go in and take over a lot of these violent criminal cases. I'm not sure that they can, though. I don't know that the federal government would have jurisdiction to do that, to take over local, county, and state cases. But, we'll see. Ramaswamy really hit the nail on the head with this one. He went into, addressing mental health, the mental health crisis in the United States that's leading to a lot of the homelessness, that's leading to a lot of the drug use, that's leading to a lot of these other things. And talked about, perhaps returning to government facilities to help address mental health. Because, we used to have mental health facilities, and those are no more at the government level. And then, they went to Senator Scott. He starts talking about the DOJ and, equal justice for everyone. This is where Ramaswamy kind of shouted out that he thinks that the FBI should be shut down. The only thing I disagreed with him all night on was shutting down the FBI. I don't think the FBI needs to be shut down. I think they need a severe house cleaning. I think that federal law enforcement agencies need a complete revamp. Some need to be shut down. Some need to be consolidated. But I'm not on board with shutting down the FBI. And Chris Christie again started preaching about January 6th, and he went on this little rant. And then we moved on to Ukraine, and I was very disappointed with the Ukraine discussion. And it was basically, and it was a raise your hands again. Who thinks we should continue to support Ukraine? Um, DeSantis is kind of, he's still supportive, although he wants to get more NATO involvement, more European involvement in the region, to kind of lessen our burden. Ramaswamy wants us to be done with Ukraine. I agree with him. We need to be done with Ukraine. Um, Christie and Nikki Haley are all about spending as much money as we need to do whatever we need to do for Ukraine to win that war. My take on Ukraine is uh, I think that the Biden administration, is supporting Ukraine so much because there is something there they don't want the world finding out about. Um, Ukraine has been corrupt for decades. There was no mention of the 2014 issues between Ukraine and Russia, particularly over the Donbass region, um, where all of this really started over. Um, so there's things there that we don't know that I just don't feel good about the Ukraine war, and I wish we would stop sending money to it. Um, Nikki Haley went on and on and on about this too, and she just wouldn't shut up. Um, then they went on to talk about how to deter China, and this devolved into a southern border discussion. And they actually, I felt like they were actually trying to hit Pence on something. But their border policies, I mean, were fabulous. They were fantastic. So I'm not really sure what they could get him on. Um, I do agree that we should pull our military back from overseas. Um, more military installations along our southern border, uh, to secure it. Um, I did talk. One of the questions was, would you send special forces into Mexico to attack the cartels? That was at some point. Um, I, that's a dangerous road. That is a dangerous road. I mean, I know we don't shy away from invading other countries, um, but Mexico's right there. I don't know. I think it would be enough to secure the border and put military on our border. Um, I agree. The cartels need to go, but I just don't know about invading another country. Uh, then they went into education, and a lot of folks were talking about shutting down the Department of Education, which is great. I would love to see the Department of Education shut down. I would love to see the federal government get out of the student loan program. Um, but a lot of it was, okay, we're going to shut down the Department of Education, and we're going to take this money and we're going to give block grants, whether it be to parents or we're going to give block grants to schools. No, 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 no. You cut the freaking taxes, keep that money in the states. If we can lower the federal taxes, let states raise their taxes so that the money stays in the state, goes directly to the schools. Just get the federal government out of education. Um, Ramaswamy made one good point about, um, a civics test for high school graduates. And Haley made a good point about bringing vocations back into high schools. But that's all state stuff. Federal government needs to stay out of it. It's not their bag, baby. They need to back off. Um, and they did some quick hit fire questions, which were really kind of meaningless at the end. Um, so I put my list together. Um, my leaderboard right now. So I've got Vivek at the top. Vivek Ramaswamy, I think, won this debate hands down. DeSantis at second. Tim Scott at third. Governor Burgum at fourth. Governor Hutchinson at fifth. Just because I can't stomach Chris Christie. The man, I can't deal. Mike Pence, he hurt himself bad tonight, really really bad. And Nikki Haley, her policies, I can't I can't deal with Nikki Haley either. So that's the first round leaderboard. I'm gonna watch the Trump interview with Tucker Carlson at some point and get a review of that out here as well. As it stands right now, I would actually put Trump second behind Vivek Ramaswamy, just because I don't hear anything from Trump about shutting down government agencies and getting federal government under control. I don't hear enough of that from him. So look for that. And on that note, have a good evening, everybody.